Hello, everybody. How are we today?
Good.
That's good.
I'm good too.
So that's good. So we'll wait a minute or two just for everybody to get here, and then we'll get started. Okay, so while we're waiting for everybody else, I think there's a couple more people still to get here. Let's go over what we covered in our last couple of lessons. And that was identifying our audience. So, who can tell me something that they remember about our last lesson? Identifying our audience. What's something that we remember about that? Very good, Bo. So our audience can vary by age. Very good. So children, teenagers, young adults, adults, and elderly. So we've got all of these different categories of ages. Very good, Kevin. Our audience can vary depending on their hobbies, or interests. Very good. And what is another thing that can change or that can affect our audience? Very good. That was when we were talking about different types of audiences. So celebrities could write to fans. Very good.
Can we write to our families?
Very good. We can write to our friends and families. Very good. And what is something else that can determine our audience? Maybe what they do for a living, their jobs. Their jobs can determine what they would be interested in and whether they would read what we're writing. Very good. So we are going to try to figure out So now we're going to do this in the opposite direction. So I'm going to give you a topic and an audience, and we're going to try to figure out what they might want to see in our writing. So the audience will be parents of school students. And our topic, or the type of writing that we'll do, is a school newsletter. So, what are some of the things that parents might want to see in a school newsletter?
Feedback,
Pardon, Conan?
feedback about the school.
Very good. So, good things that have been happening. So, maybe something like student achievements.
Score.
So if any students have won any awards, or I know that whenever some of the students at my old primary school, they were judo champions, and whenever their dad was their coach, and whenever they would fly off to Japan and compete in a judo tournament and they got good results, I know that that would always be in our school's newsletter. So they'd have a little section for their judo results, or we had some other students that were musicians, and whenever they had a big performance, they'd put that in the newsletter too. So anything that students of the school have achieved, that's something that parents might be interested in.
Health. Teacher health.
Health. So what would they want to see, or what would they want to read about health in the newsletter? So maybe something like, what's been going on at the school? Have there been any big school events? Any athletics carnivals? Any, what else? Any big assemblies? What are the events that have been going on at the school? That might be something that the parents would be interested in. What else can we think of? Kevin, do you have any ideas?
No.
Stella, how about you? Jin, do you have any ideas? What might parents like to see in a school newsletter? Okay. So maybe something like any future plans for the school? Are they planning on building any new buildings for the school? Is there something big coming up? So maybe they might like to let parents know that there's going to be a big event in the future. So we see with some of these things, and maybe any important contact details. So maybe they might like to give the parents any important phone numbers that they might need to get in contact with certain staff at the school. So basically, we're just looking for anything that's, anything important in the school that the parents would need to know about. Those are the sorts of things that we would want to include. So anything parents will want to know. So that's really the most important thing there. So does all of this make sense?
Yes.
Terrific. Very good. Good. So yeah, so all of this stuff. So this is how we identify our audience, and this is how we work out how we should write to them. We could take it a step further and have a look at how we would write these pieces. So like the kind of language that we would use, the kind of things we would talk about under all of these headings. So yeah, if you want to get into advertising or marketing or even writing for your future job, these are some of those things you'll have to think about. But even if you don't, a lot of these skills will help. So today's topic is going to be, where is it here? Constructing strong arguments. So this is kind of a continuation of what we were learning about with the fundamental pieces of persuasive writing. So just to go through an example again, let's have a look-see here. Okay, so having a look at this piece of writing, let's identify all of these parts again. So what is this called?
Title.
Very good. We've got the title of our piece of writing. And what would we call this? What would we call that type of question? What kind of question is that? It's one that's pretty obvious and that we don't really need to answer. It's one designed to make us think. What do we call a question like that? A rhetorical question. So it's a question, like I said, we don't need to answer it because I think everybody would be looking forward to their recess time every day. So it's a question just designed to make you go, yeah, I look forward to it. What does this person have to say? What do we call this? This is called the statement of what?
Position.
Very good. It's our statement of position. Very good. So this lets the audience know what we think, or in this case, what we believe. And then after our statement of position, what do we call this?
Reason.
Very good. That is our first reason. And after our reason, or in this piece at least, what have we got here? Similar to this one up here, but it's not a question. What is it? It's a rhetorical what?
Statement.
Very good. It's a rhetorical statement. So again, it's just another line in the writing, just to make the audience go, yeah, you're right. Everybody does need a break. So what would normally come after the reason?
The evidence.
What's it? Very good.
Evidence.
Terrific. The evidence. Well done. We come back down to here. And now this one is actually kind of a combination. So what is this one?
Second reason.
Very good. It's our second reason. And what else is it?
The conclusion.
No, the conclusion comes next. What have they given us in this reason?
Evidence.
Very good. They've given us evidence in the form of an example. So they're giving us an idea of what we could do with that extra time. So we could play some of our favorite outdoor games. So very good. And then finally,
Conclusion.
very good. We've got our conclusion. And just to test you guys out here, what is this first part of our conclusion called? So, isn't it a great idea to extend recess? What type of question is this? What type of question might this be?
It's a question.
Very good, a rhetorical question. And what do we call this at the end of our conclusion? What do we call this when we try and ask people to do something? What do we call that? We call it a call to.
Or to do it.
Call to action. So let's propose this to our teacher. So every time you watch a YouTube video, for example, and you see and you hear the people in the video saying, make sure you click this button to like this video and click subscribe to our channel and all of those things that they say, that's a call to action. That's asking you to do something. And so we use that in our persuasive writing as well. So good job, guys. So now we have these different parts of our persuasive writing. It's time that we had a look at. It's time that we had a look at how we actually craft persuasive arguments, because it is one thing to give a good argument and another thing to give a weak argument. Hang on just a sec. I'm going to go turn the lights on in the room I'm in. It's getting dark here. So let's have a look at the things we need to do to make sure that we're crafting strong arguments. So the first thing we need to do is we need a clear position. And a clear position is make your opinion strong, obvious, and what's the strong, obvious, and straight to the point. So don't beat around the bush. You want to make your opinion strong. So don't say, I kind of think that maybe sometimes this is true, because everybody's going to see that and they're going to go, oh, he doesn't believe that. And they'll stop listening straight away. You need to make it very obvious so there cannot be any confusion about what you're saying or which argument you're making. And it needs to be straight to the point. So don't use 25 words when 10 words will do. So that's a very good point of communication. Just say what you're thinking. The next thing we need to do, let me check the chat box. Oh, Conan, you make me laugh. Yeah, that is a very good opinion to have, Conan. Don't click on the Rickroll link. I think it was you that Rickrolled me a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? So our second point for making a strong argument is logical reasons. So logical reasons, they can't just be simple and selfish. And I've got some good examples of a strong argument and a weak argument to come up next. But your reasons need to make sense. Your reasons need, so people need to be able to understand them. And so that's really all there is to logical reasons. They need to make sense. Not simple and selfish. Because remember what I said earlier on in this course, people can be a bit selfish sometimes. So when you try to persuade them, you need to make sure that you're letting them know what they will get out of whatever you're writing, not just, I want to do this because I want to do it. And the next thing we need is compelling evidence. So compelling evidence is interesting, compelling evidence is undeniable. So someone can read that, and like when someone reads your evidence, you need to hook them in with your evidence and have them going, wow, like I believe that. Like there's no way that's not true. So interesting, believable. And finally, sometimes we might need, here. We might need, oh goodness, what's Conan said? Like, you got to believe me that that is a Rickroll link because it has youtube.com on the bottom. So trust me. And I also see Rick Astley in there. You're focusing heavy on those Rickrolls today, Conan. So the last thing that we may need that can make our the last thing we'll need to make our writing more persuasive is effective rebuttals. And an example of this might be like all adults, whenever they go to buy a car, every single car they look at is perfect if it wasn't so expensive. And that's a very, I used to work as a car salesman. So one of the most common objections I would get, or the most common things that reason people would give me to not buy the car, is that they thought that the price was too big. But if you have your rebuttals prepared, or your reason to cancel out their concern, then you can really win them over. And one of the things that I would always say to people, if they said, oh, we like the car, but it's just a bit too expensive, then we'd point out the reasons why the car was that price. So some things that we would say are, well, we use very high quality parts. We don't like to use the cheap parts when we build them. So that can cost a bit more. And we also have all of these great servicing programs. We have We offer you free roadside assistance with the car. So if it does break down, we'll come out and pick it up and get it somewhere safe. So we give them all of these reasons or these rebuttals as to why the car is not too expensive. So if you have some of these prepared, then you can very, very easily be very, very persuasive. So effective rebuttals essentially cancel people's worries. So if we can do these 4 things, we can create a very strong argument. Now, does this make sense to everybody? Terrific. I see a few people nodding yes, and I see a few people just staring at the screen, and I think I see Kevin about to throw something. So I am just double checking with you guys. You do understand all of these parts of making a strong argument? Terrific. Okay. Good. So I've got an example now of a strong argument versus a weak argument. So got a couple here I could read from. So I'll read from the topic. Should students have homework every day? Should students have homework every day? That is the topic. Now, a weak argument would be something along the lines of students should not have homework every day because homework is boring. So I see you all agreeing. I see you all agreeing with that argument. But it is in fact a weak argument. And the reason that it's a weak argument is because it's based on your opinion. So it doesn't provide any really solid reasons or evidence to believe what you're saying. It's just like, oh, homework's boring, so I don't want to do it every day. And that is very weak reasoning, a weak argument. Because, and as well, you also need to think not everyone might find homework boring. So the argument doesn't persuade a big group of people. I think I'm going to want to read this. Students should not have homework today because it is very boring and it does not increase your IQ. Everyone that does homework are not smarter than people that do homework. I don't know. You would need to come up with some pretty persuasive evidence for that argument, Conan. You would have to be a persuasive genius to be able to make that argument work, I think. Now, here is a strong argument. Here's an example of a strong argument. I've noticed, Conan, I don't seem to receive very much from your homework from you in the Zalo group. Oh, you don't do homework at school. I'll be honest, I was like that when I was at school. I was always the messy kid who just threw all his papers in his desk and forgot about it. I regret that now. I swear to you, that has made my life so much harder as an adult because I was unorganized as a kid. It took a lot of practice to get better at organizing myself. So take the chance now while you're kids. You're like sponges. You just absorb everything. Just pull it all into your brains. So take advantage of that now while you can set yourself up with good habits for life, because it will make your life 1,000 times easier. Anyway, a strong argument for should students have homework every day. You laugh, but you'll get to my age and be like, Mr. Michael was right. I wish I was so much more organized. Anyway, a strong argument, should students have homework every day? Very good, Stella. See what I mean? Not everyone agrees that homework's boring. So, students should not have homework every day because they need time for other important activities.
Yes.
Studies suggest, Conan, let me deliver my strong argument so you can see the difference between a strong and a weak argument. Goodness gracious, boy. Grizzle, grizzle, grizzle. So, students should not have homework every day because they need time for other important activities. Studies suggest that physical activity, hobbies, and family time can contribute positively to a child's development. Reducing homework can provide more time for these important activities, leading to a more balanced lifestyle for students. My argument is weak. How is my argument weak? I've been challenged. I must defend. How is my argument weak? Kevin, defend your claim.
Because your argument is weak because you teach dancing. You teach dancing.
But because, how does the fact that I teach dancing on Sundays mean that my arguments in a persuasive writing class is weak? And I provided evidence. There was evidence in there when I said studies suggest that physical activity, hobbies, and family time can contribute positively to a child's development. No real life one. What are you talking about? I think you're just trying to be argumentative now. That's all right, Kevin. You'll keep. I'm kidding. So, but we do see the difference between the example of the strong argument and the example of the weak argument. The weak argument was students should not have homework every day because homework is boring. That's exactly how I personally used to feel about it. I would always, I don't want to do this assignment. I don't want to do this homework. And yeah, we're only talking about the arguments at this stage. We're not talking about writing anything. The writing part is the conclusion is part of the writing technique, not the speaking necessarily. Anyway, so we do see that difference there, whereas in the strong argument, there is a reason, or there's how I feel, there is the reason why, and there is evidence there. I'm citing from studies. I'm saying there are studies that have been done that prove that less homework for kids can have a positive outcome. So that's really all there is to creating a strong argument, is in the middle of a hiccup. Just introduce your point really clearly, give a good solid non-selfish reason as to why you believe your point of view, and then give us some evidence for it. Tell us who else agrees with your point of view. Was it this class that I ended up having a nightmare with herd mentality? Was that you guys?
No.
Or was that your debate class, Stella? So, all right, so we're going to have a try at coming up with some weak and strong arguments. So, in the real world, just to point out some comments that I've been getting in the chat box here. So, in the real world, you just wouldn't be my audience then, Bo, because you said nobody agrees with the point of view that my argument made. So that just simply means that you wouldn't be my audience. You would be the kid that would sit there and be like, no, I'm not going to listen to what he's saying. I don't want to study at home. And then you wouldn't do your homework. Whereas Stella would be my audience because she likes homework and she would listen if I gave her reasons why homework is good. Or doing homework is bad because it sucks. And like, let me take an example. I never do homework and I still got good grades. Also, doing homework hurts your brain. Like, point of view, your teacher gives you 50 pages of homework and you have to do it in one day. Some people done, and you also done too. But at exams, you got worse grade than people who did not make it what you think. That was hard to read. That was just like a lot. So let's have another look at that. So I wouldn't say doing homework is bad because it sucks. And like, let me give you an example. I never do my homework and still get good grades. I would really slow that down. And for example, I might rewrite that and say something like, to be honest, I don't even think I can put a positive spin on that. You'd just be better off trying to, you'd just be better off trying to use an argument like mine. But it's good to see you're trying. So I'm going to come up with a topic and we're going to have a go at coming up with good and bad arguments. So the topic will be, should education be free? So, who wants to give me an example of maybe what a weak argument could be for should education be free?
It is. Yes, it is.
Pardon?
Yes, it should.
Okay, so I think I've got the gist of doing. Bo's just said doing homework is weak. So a weak argument might be something like, education should be free because then everyone would get one. So that's an example of a weak argument. Education should be free because then everyone could get one. It's a very subjective argument. Like, I understand it. I'm not saying that it's the wrong or the right reason to do something. It could very well be the right reason. You know, like I actually personally would agree with that argument. Education should be free because then everyone can get it. Excellent. Like I agree with that. But it's how we've written the argument that makes it weak. It's a very, it's a very not selfish, but it's not been thought through very well. Everyone shouldn't not be free education because we will lose IQ. Not necessarily. So, you know, so even whether education is free or just heavily subsidized, like whether the government pays for most of the education. So we see here, so weak reason, education should be free because then everyone could get one. So there's no reasons. Well, there's a reason I've provided, but it's not a very logical reason. I've not provided any evidence, and there's just nothing there to it. It's just a single sentence, not very strong. But if we could write something like, whoops, I think education should be free because then, take away the then, because anybody that wants an education, imagine that says education. Can have access education. No one will like it. I think education should be free because anybody that wants an education can get one. I'm going to pretend like I've done some research on this and found a good source. So I would write something like a study from Harvard University showed that, what did this study show? All right, so I can just finish off my research by saying it. So the strong argument might look a little bit more like this. I think education should be free because anybody that wants an education can get one. A study from Harvard University showed that people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds that were given access to free education were 35% more likely to improve their financial situation and make their lives and their families' lives better. So by adding in that research, of course, for this we just made it up. Oh, don't like I'm just saying, like I was just making this research up for this example. This isn't real research. But so that is how you would construct a strong argument. You would do your actual real research. So you would do your actual research, find some real statistics to include in your argument, and then by using that evidence, it makes your reasoning stand taller, or it makes your reasoning stronger. So yeah, so it shows that because anybody that wants an education can get one. Then I found the study that said poorer people that can't afford an education, that are given a free education, are X% more likely to improve their own lives and the lives of their family around them. So that's how we would make a strong argument. So we just need that strong reasoning and that evidence. Whereas if you have a look here, I basically used the same reason, the same stance and the same reason. So here, that part of the speech above the line, that's exactly the same as this weak argument here. I've really just added the evidence and then expanded on the reason. So I just made my argument a bit stronger that way. So your turn now, guys. We're going to finish off this lesson tonight by you guys coming up with a weak and a strong argument. So your topic will be should kids learn another language? So who's got an idea for a weak argument? So your argument, even though it's weak, can still say, yes, kids should learn another language. But what would be a weak argument for that? Conan.
Yes, kids should learn other language because it is very helpful for kids. That's all.
Say that again, sorry.
Yes, because kids should learn other language because it is very helpful, and that is all.
Very good. So kids should learn another language because it is helpful. Okay. Okay, good, Bo. So now we're starting to get into coming up with now Bo's messages are coming into our strong argument. Yeah, learning another language can help your memory skills. It doesn't give you more memory. It just helps you use the memory that you've got more effectively. Oh, hiccup. So a strong argument might go something like, to be honest, we could just take what Bo wrote, not what Bo wrote, sorry, what Conan wrote and expand on it. So kids should learn another language because language learning is not only fantastic for being able to communicate with more people, it can also improve valuable skills like listening skills, memories, skills like listening, improved memory, and help your analytical thinking. So with those fantastic reasons that Bo gave us, and by expanding on our reason, we now create a much stronger argument. Oh, Kevin, what do you like? So then realistically, all we'd need to do here at the end of this is to add in some more, some credible evidence. So we'd need to then go and look for research or statistics or just any form of evidence that agrees with our point of view, and then we would add that in there. So that's right. It also helps us to cooperate with people from different countries. Very good. So your homework for this class will be to to think of 5 different topics and then write an example of a weak argument and a strong argument about each of those topics. It does, just like ruffle means rolling on the floor laughing. So why are we all screaming now? I just say, ah! I just say, ah, in the chat. Why are you screaming, Conan? Ah! So, very well done today, guys. So your homework, 5 topics. Give me an example of a weak argument and an example of a strong argument for each topic. I also want you to write down and tell me why the argument is weak and why the argument is strong. So get out of here, guys. Start enjoying your weekend and doing all this homework I've given you.
Bye. See ya.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.